So it's recording now. And clicking on go live. Okay. Let's go. Okay, looks like it's going. All right, looks like we are live. Thomas, welcome, my friend. How are
Thank
you?
you. Yeah, great, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
You're very welcome. And friends, today I have the privilege of interviewing Thomas Wurm. He's a wildland firefighter. He's also a master practitioner of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, who helps entrepreneurs, business owners who need a boost in self-worth and leadership skills. And today I'm going to be asking him some questions, have him share his story of how he became a firefighter and also a master practitioner of NLP, and how you can benefit from hearing from his story and his lessons. And with that, we're going to start with Thomas. Please tell me a little bit about your childhood, how things were, where you were raised, and things that led to you becoming who you are today. And please start with childhood and what were the biggest moments in your life that shaped for who you are today.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. And really, I grew up in Washington State, in Olympia, Washington, so West Coast near Seattle, and grew up. Everything was pretty normal. Like I had an older brother, had a great neighborhood, close friends that I went to elementary school all the way to high school with, great core people. And I would say my childhood was pretty uneventful until probably about 10 years old when my parents got a divorce. And that was like really traumatic for me. And so my whole life changed at that point. And I really got into skateboarding and eventually got into like partying too much and really kind of went down a dark road, which eventually led to a lot of pills and alcohol and actually a near-death experience when I was a teenager. So I would say that was one of the biggest moments in my life, because from there, I really transformed. I changed in that moment. I went from a really dark path to all of a sudden I was really into meditation or reading or martial arts and things like that. So all of a sudden it wasn't just skateboarding, it was martial arts and snowboarding and kind of all the extreme sports really kept me busy in high school. And that was, I would say, the most pivotal moment in kind of my, more adolescence, but that was the big one for me growing up. And yeah, going back to like, yeah, I guess, yeah. What do you have? What are your thoughts?
No, go ahead. I was just
Okay.
saying, wow, because
Yeah.
yeah, you're so concise with your answer because you cover like childhood, you covered chunk of your teenage years already. So
Yeah.
yes, please keep.
So what's really interesting is my grandparents were they were fire lookouts for wildland firefighting. So they were my grandpa was on Mount Hood and my grandma was on Mount Adams, which is like just across the river. So Washington, Oregon, there on the river. And they actually met by signaling each other and eventually met down in Portland for some drinks. And that was their story of how they actually met. So also my father was a wildland firefighter in California. So I was like third generation. So I grew up with all these stories of like the adrenaline, the, lighting fires in the forest, for a good thing and cutting trees and all this crazy stuff. And I just grew up around that. So I was super interested. I would say by the time I was 15 or 16, I was like, I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do. So that's how I got into wildland firefighting. And it was just such an amazing, crazy career to get into.
Okay, when you said your grandparents met because they were signaling.
Yeah, absolutely. So they were like doing like, the fire lookouts would talk to each other signaling, right? Well, they were like actually messaging each other somehow is the story. And they met up in Portland. So it's kind of crazy, right?
How were the signals? Is that smoke signal?
This is like mirror flashes and stuff. And like I don't know the
Okay,
full
okay,
story. Yeah, this is like 1940s, right? Yeah.
okay, okay. So it could be a flashlight. I didn't think of that, but I was thinking like smoke signal. This
Right.
what a romantic way to meet a
I
significant
know.
other.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Okay, this is amazing. So you're third generation firefighter then.
Yeah, yeah. So, spent 14 years in that field, like just full on 100%. That was my life, and just such a interesting, so many lessons there in leadership and really facing yourself and all the challenges that come with that. Cause you really push yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. You're just like on 100% at all times in that job. It's pretty hardcore.
How did you start when you were 5 years old? Because how were you able to spend 14 years there? You do not look a day past 25. So
Oh, thanks, man. I
how does this add
appreciate
up?
that. I started when I was 18, so I'm actually 32 now. So, yep.
Okay, okay. Got it. Wow. So you started, were you youngest in your group?
I mean, it's
Were
pretty
you the
normal
youngest in your group or were
for a
there,
while, yeah, for a while for sure.
and so from, you know, parents got divorced, you got, when you said you got into skateboard,
Yeah,
I
so
don't know if if you meant by that being a positive thing or negative thing.
oh man, the skateboarding was so
So,
positive for me.
yeah, so I was trying to, next question might be a little bit on the negative side. I'm sure, there's a happy ending to this story. So pills and alcohol, like what, you know, peers, did it start from you? How did that happen? And I believe you sharing might help people that might be thinking about it or might be having the same issue. So this might be very informative for others.
Yeah, so it started with just like, normal parties with alcohol and marijuana and it just kind of evolved just like kind of peer pressure when I was a teenager of like I don't even know if it was peer pressure. I think it was more just like trying to hide from my own emotions. And that was I think a big driver of just not really knowing how to deal with everything that was going on. And and it just drove me to go deeper and deeper into those types of drugs and the OD was just a I don't know. I'm glad it happened because it really did shape who I am, but it is pretty unfortunate. It's not a good thing, right? But for me personally, like I'm a lot of the tragedies that have happened in my life, I like to find gratitude in them some way and somehow, and I'm grateful for that experience, even though it was obviously terrifying when it happened, right?
Uh, I appreciate you so much sharing. Um, I to this day I haven't. You're probably the closest person to me, even though we have met in the past few months that I have heard a story, but it's you know, very 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 painful. And how old were you when that happened?
See, I was I think 15, like a freshman in high school when that happened. So, or sophomore actually, sophomore. So 15 or 16 when that happened. So it was kind of a huge wake-up call at a very young age. And um, I think I always look back and like thankfully I had skateboarding because that's all I did. Like literally, like I didn't do school. I just skateboarded like so hardcore. That's all I did. So I think that is definitely one of the things that saved me.
And then so between that and and getting into firefighting, there was about 3 years there. Did you get into meditation before firefighting, or martial arts? When did those happen?
Yeah, so right after the near death experience is almost like night and day, where basically the next day like I remember buying a book or finding a book to read about meditation, about Buddhism, about Taoism, all those stuffs. Like I was reading 2 or 3 books a week almost, like kind of a crazy amount, and meditating and then I was like, I told my mom like I got to go to like martial arts. So I found a kung fu studio. I started doing Tai Chi classes. So like it was really fast. It was like immediate changes. And what's crazy is I went from like a almost like D, like lower C student to straight A's like that semester. And so I wrote out the rest of high school with 4.0s. I mean, my GPA was awful, but I did get 4.0s my last 2 years, so it was pretty amazing. Like, whoa, that's a different person, right?
Wow. Wow. And were you able to keep that new life with the same friends? Did you have to change friends? How did your social life change? And if so, how did it change?
Yeah, I think a lot of my friends were like, "Man, what happened to Thomas? He's gone. Like he doesn't even hang out with us anymore. He doesn't come to the parties, and he's just like a monk now." And that for sure, that's like a lot of my friends changed, and like that core friends from elementary school I was talking about, we stayed friends, but I would say like 70% of my friends just kind of fell off because I wasn't really into that stuff anymore, right?
And were you able to um, like get new friends, or was it harder, or it didn't matter to you? Like, were you in type of zone or flow that you know? How was your social life after?
I would say it didn't matter so much because I was just so like I hated high school so much. It was like definitely the worst time period for me my whole life. So it's just like I was so on like ready to leave and go on to the next thing. So I don't think I really cared. It was just like, man, this is who I am now, and I'm gonna focus on what I want and what I like and all those things. Because I don't think I really did that before everything happened. So yeah, it was such a big shift.
Okay, okay. And then, man, so many questions, and I know we don't have a lot of time today. So how about we go into then? So it's your new life. You have meditation. You're reading 3 books a week, martial arts, kung fu, tai chi, um, and now you're going into firefighting. Did it? You must have changed some your routine because now you're. How many hours a week were you uh, working?
Right. So yeah, Wildland Fire, once the season gets going, you work about it's like 110 hours a week. So you're
Uh-huh.
like, 16 hours a day, you're at work. And so yeah, my routine totally changed. And basically I kind of forgot about meditation for like 10 years. Like I really didn't, I just kind of forgot about it, didn't really go into it. Like I still did a lot of snowboarding and backcountry skiing and stuff, but that was kind of my major outlet for meditation. And yeah, I would say all that stuff kind of dropped off for a while. Like I almost forgot about it. It's really interesting.
Hmm. And man, so let's see. So you talked about leadership in the firefighting school. Um, can you talk about, say, one instance or one situation where you had to, say, step up from being a certain level of person or courage or fear, something where you had to become a higher leader or a higher level leader in what was that situation?
Oh man, so actually my second fire season, like so I'll just go back. My first season was awesome. Like I loved it. It was super hard and I got my butt kicked like all the time. And then that winter I had so much cash. I was like, what am I gonna do? So I went up to Alaska to like just focus on snowboarding and actually applied to heli guide school and all this stuff. So um I spent that winter skiing up in Juneau, Alaska, and just focused on that so hard. And actually, right before heli guide school, I blew out my ankle, like third degree sprain. Like I couldn't walk on it, and my heart was broken. And so at that point, I was like, I can't like crutch through Alaska. Like I can't even get around. Like so, I actually went home after that, and at that point, it was like, well, what am I going to do now? So I actually met some friends, and I went down to Mexico for a couple weeks, for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I was surfing down there with this bum ankle, and I got just destroyed by a wave. And I ended up fracturing a vertebrae in my neck.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, now I've got like this bum ankle, and I messed up my neck like super bad. Like actually, like my left arm was paralyzed for like a couple months. Like it was bad. It was real bad. And so when I, like my next fire season, it like, all this stuff happened in February, March. And so by the time I showed up to work in May, like I couldn't even hold my head up. Like my neck was still that effed up. Like it was like I'd have to like seriously. And so I showed up and was just like, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna work through it, and do it. And um that summer I just got every fire. I couldn't keep up. Like I would puke on our PT hikes. Like I would go down from like heat exhaustion almost. Like just I couldn't do my job really, because I didn't have that fitness level anymore. And I remember I got back from a really hard fire in California. We got back to Wyoming, and it was like I just had a breakdown, like, oh my God, I got to change something. And my supervisor was like, yeah, I was going to talk to you, but like, you need to like seriously step it up now, or you're not gonna be able to come back next year. It was like my heart was sank. And so right then I made this pact. I was like, okay, I'm gonna like work so hard. I'm gonna PT like twice a day, whatever the crew does, I'm gonna double it. And that's when I changed my mindset about it. And I actually came out of that season like more fit, like fitter than I was the first season. And like within a couple of months, I totally changed it. And it sucked. I was in pain, and I just like went through it and worked through it. And that was like a turning point for me. I was like, oh my God, I'm pretty powerful. Like I can do this job. And I would say that gave me confidence later when I stepped into like a really more leadership. Every year I would go higher in the leadership scale. And so that was a big one for me too.
So were you injured in May when you started the season from the hard fire from California? Were you injured? I mean, your neck was definitely injured, but how was your knee and your arm?
So I went through a ton of chiropractic work and a ton of physical therapy. So it wasn't like I never got an x-ray until like 10 years later. So I didn't know I fractured my neck. So yeah, I mean, I was definitely still like recovering from my neck injury for sure. My ankle was like definitely quite a bit better, like 99%. My neck was probably at like 50%, right? And I actually had to lie through my medical screening. I had to lie completely. I totally lied to the doctor and like made it through somehow. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm thinking here if I mean your story is remarkable how you were able to go from injured to being fitter, say 3 months later, being stronger and fitter. And I was thinking maybe David Goggins was inspired by your story. Do you know who David Goggins is?
I do. And gosh, who knows I don't know what year he doing all of his stuff, but this was 2008. So it was before him, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
I love
So
that though.
man,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, totally. That this just reminds me to get back to doing the morning runs and the tough pull-ups and push-ups that when I read his book, I was started doing. And then but now that you reminded me of no, not reminded me, but you told me your story, I'm going to be inspired by your story. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the PT twice a day, but I'm going to create my own PT and beat it. That's what
Yeah.
I'll do.
Oh, I love it, man.
And what have you? How? we haven't talked about you being a master practitioner yet. So how about we start that? Maybe start with you became, why you took up NLP, and how has it helped you, and how you actually, and how you've been able to help.
Yeah, man. Like we've been talking about the wildland fire stuff. So I would say like 2015. 2015 around there, 2016, somebody close to me passed away, and it was like this really big traumatic event for me. And soon after that, there was anxiety, there was health problems, there was like this basically this healing crisis ensued for me, and I really didn't know what to do about it. And it was like this really terrifying, horrible time in my life. But um, so I started seeking out things like acupuncture. Like we said, I kind of forgot about meditation, so I went back to meditation. I went back to yoga and those kinds of things, and that drove me to acupuncture. Which through this healing crisis, my acupuncturist is like, you should go check out NLP. Like, you should go see what that's about. And I was like, because he was a practitioner, and I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'll go check it out. And the first like intro course that I took was so mind blowing. And I was like, oh my God, I've been thinking this stuff my entire life. And now somebody's actually talking about it. Like, this is insane. And there's just so many coincidences that I was like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in life. And so I would say the second day I went and just signed up for Master Prac, I was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing it. And ever since then, like, I had this healing journey that was really amazing and powerful. And I would say I was at like a 60, 70, maybe 75% healed, I felt like, until I went to master practitioner and I actually went through my breakthrough session. It was like, whoa, like my entire life changed after that. And when we talk about the breakthrough session for people listening, it's like this 8-hour ordeal of like really digging deep, going through all of the baggage in your life, all the really hard stuff that you never even want to talk about, um, unearthing it and then really letting it go. And when I did that, it was so transforming, and my like everything changed overnight. And so now I have that tool to help people, and just the results I see like day to day basis is just, it's mind blowing. Like how powerful our mind is. Like if we can go from a broken neck to being super fit in like 3 months, like, and like proving that with the breakthrough session is just, man, it's wild how well and fast it works. It's truly remarkable.
Indeed, indeed. Were you? I don't know if it was your teacher, Dr. Matt James.
Yes. Yep.
Right. He was. Did he talk about the biology of belief in your?
He skimmed it, and I'm actually reading that book right now, and it's just like, it just takes NLP to like the whole nother level. It's just like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. It's I'm like halfway through, and it's just every page is like blowing my mind.
Yes, yes. So if I know we're coming up for your time limit here, I know you need to go. So how about we start wrapping up? Uh, how, if people want to, for those of that are watching and listening that want to reach out to you and have, do you offer a free complimentary session for people that want to find out if your session is right for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I do a free consultation. I also have a free book called Overcome Anxiety Like a Hero. So that's something free people can check out. And they can find me at basically, Mountain Mind Tricks is my main website, and I also have integrativeentrepreneur.com. So those two websites, you can find everything you want to find out about me. I also have a podcast that's free, so Sacred Ancestry Podcast, and they can check all that stuff out and get a hold of me.
Okay. So the first one was mountainmindtricks.com.
Yep, yep, yep.
Second one, integrative entrepreneur
Integrativeentrepreneur.com.
entrepreneurship.com. Got it. Awesome. Well, my friend, thank you so much for spending this few minutes with me, sharing your beautiful story. So inspiring. I know I'm inspired to double my PT and and even put in the practice of NLP and the tools even more in my life. And so thank you so much for who you are and what you've sharing your story. And I hope millions of people get to hear your story as well.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that, and thank you so much for having me. And it was a pleasure to talk with you and have this space today. So thank you.
You're very welcome, my friend. Have a great evening there, and I'll speak with you soon.
Okay.
All right, ciao.